Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Podcast with me, your host, Freddie Hall. Welcome back, Andrew. Welcome back, Adam. I don't know if I mentioned this last week, but I got up crazy early last week from my job. I've done it again this week. So it was 3:30 today that I got up. Last week it was 10 to 3. So again, if it goes a bit spirals out of control, goes a bit crazy, then, I'm just a little bit sleep deprived, a little bit too much coffee. I had a lunch of pancakes with an insane amount of sugar on top of them. So, they were delicious, but I'm a little bit hyped up at the moment. But it's fine. We're back. We're the Franchise Tag Podcast. I hope you've been doing all okay. It feels like every year, free agency starts, it goes crazy, quieten down, goes crazy again, quiets down. And this season, it's just really not picked up after that first day, really. I mean, it was like Monday and a tiny bit of Tuesday. And then it's just really settled. It's completely settled, really. And most of the big names and big-ish trades have already happened. I mean, there's one out in the ether with AJ Brown potentially that is still undecided whether that may happen. The big one today, big one, was Justin Fields getting traded to the Kansas City Chiefs for a 6th round pick and getting back a 7th as well. I mean, Andrew's former Ohio State quarterback, Justin Fields, someone who you firmly believed in, to go from being the 1st round pick to, pittance picks, but going to, a Super Bowl champion team of the last few seasons.
I mean, we've seen Sam Darnold go for nothing as well, haven't we? Passed around the league. We've seen various other 1st round people. Mac Jones, went again for nothing, and Josh Rosen not in the league. So it's the 1st round thing. Lots of them are picked, and 50% of them work. So I think he's not been to the right team. He's not had the right coaching around him. No one's ever really put anything in him. So maybe being with Mahomes, learning something off Mahomes. We know he's a good athlete. We know he's got a good arm. It's just not reading the field very well. So I feel like that can be learned, and I feel like Kansas is a good place for him. They talk about coaches you want to be with. You want to be with McVay. You want to be with Shanahan. You want to be with Reid. So we've seen what they've done with quarterbacks, and we've seen what Reid's done with quarterbacks. So possibly this is a really good decision for him to stick there and learn something, and maybe become the next Sam Darnold.
Adam, if he goes to Kansas City and it doesn't happen, does the B word get thrown around a little bit?
The B word?
Bust? I'm guessing he's going with bust.
Bust, yeah.
That hasn't been thrown around already?
Yeah, surely he's already classed as a bust because it's not.
I was going to say. Yeah, I mean, look, I know that there's obviously there's a feeling that Mahomes probably won't start the season, so therefore he's going to get, first team reps in the off-season, and he's going to get chances. It's not going to be for very long, is it? Let's face it. As soon as Mahomes is fit, he's gone. So that's the end of that. He needs
to showcase a portion of that he can progress, though, doesn't he? That's what we've seen from Malik Willis. Everyone said he was a bust, and now he showcased a small portion of what he could do, and now he's a pick. So
yeah, I think the only thing I would say about that is that I feel like Willis. He came in 2 seasons in a row and came in for certain games and showed that he had progressed over that. I don't know. Maybe the Chiefs will keep him for longer than the year. So, but it's that thing, isn't it? Where obviously if Mahomes is fit, Mahomes plays, and that's kind of the end of it. So it's not I suppose you could argue it's the same with Jordan Love. So it's like he's got a chance. In fairness to him, he's got a chance to actually be at an organisation that is better than what the Jets are, better than what the Bears were when he was there. The only thing I would say is I feel like the Steelers when he was there, I feel like you would have seen progression then. A little bit, and there wasn't really much difference.
There's a lot of defensive guys in at the.
Yeah, there is, but even still,
the Chiefs are a better ran organisation than the Steelers.
No, that's fair enough. But I would argue the Steelers are a better run organisation than the Bears were or the Jets.
Oh yeah, yeah. And he did well. He did well at the Steelers, didn't he? His record was decent as a starter there.
I was one of the few that was a bit more than maybe let's hold out on Russell Wilson a little bit, but the other caveat being that he's going into he might showcase himself now, but you're going into a quarterback draft in 2027 where there is a litany of talent. It's not like it's going to be it's not like there's going to be teams that starve the quarterback in the 2027 draft, but we obviously have the 2027 college season and crazier things have happened. So, and when I say crazier things have happened, we have seen crazy things happen. This is probably the is this crazier than Antonio Brown's complete breakdown at Tampa Bay? Maybe. Is this crazier than the Patriots moving on from Tom Brady? Maybe. I would say in terms of the trading sphere in my NFL lifetime, and I say NFL lifetime is in from when I've started it, this is the most mental. And it is the Maxx Crosby trade. That's what we're going to be starting off with in this show, which has completely collapsed between the Las Vegas Raiders and the Baltimore Ravens. On Friday, March 6th, the Raiders and the Ravens reached a tentative, very tentative in the end, blockbuster agreement, price tag of 2 first-round picks, including the number 14 in the draft coming up, which the Raiders then would have had the number 1, the number 14. We said, what a deal. Great deal. Not an overpay at all. Baltimore getting a fantastic edge rusher. Raiders have got now their quarterback of the future in Fernando Mendoza, and potentially the second, or maybe the second best O-lineman or second best wide receiver coming into this draft. Maybe even the first one, depending on how it all looks at that top of the board. Tuesday night, it comes out that Crosby failed his medical with Baltimore, Andrew, with his knee. And then they basically said it's off. It was a torn meniscus in his left knee, and apparently he was ahead of schedule. Baltimore didn't feel that way. Completely off the table. You have been watching NFL way longer than me and Adam. Has anything catastrophic, I suppose, for the Raiders, in a sense, when you first looked at it, happened before?
The only instance we've had this before is we've had it a couple of times with coaches. Obviously, Josh McDaniels is a big one that got cold feet and backed out of being a coach. We have also had a player do this. I think it was more free agency than trade, where we had Emmanuel Sanders commit to a team and then back out of it and go to someone else. But this has actually happened on a smaller scale twice already at the Baltimore Ravens with DeCosta. It happened with Ryan Grant, the wide receiver, committed to the Ravens, and then Michael Crabtree got cut from the 49ers, and they backed out of the Ryan Grant trade and brought in Michael Crabtree. And it also happened with Michael Brockers as well, where they backed out, failed his medical, and then he went on to start 2 seasons without missing a single game. So the Ravens have actually got previous of doing this already. And DeCosta's already got previous as this. They're just on smaller scales, aren't they? They're exactly the same thing, but just not 2 first-round picks, a contract that's worth like £30+ million each year. They were on a lot smaller scale. So, no, we haven't seen anything like this in the past ever. I think mainly because they've changed all the tampering rules and trading, and it wasn't as big back in the day, and superstars didn't move around like this. So these blockbusters weren't a big thing back then. But yeah, this has happened before, just not on the scale that we've seen it with the implications being first round picks and big contracts.
Well, let's move the timeline on, because then basically they consulted with an independent specialist, the Ravens, and they expressed what I've got is major concerns over long-term prognosis of the knee given his heavy career workload. The Raiders then reacted and put out, quite frankly, a little bit in poor taste for me of the Ravens have backed out, is off. And it's a bit like, okay, all right, Vegas, you've gone and spent a lot of this money. We in fact said smartly spent the money on players like Tyler Linderbaum, who they've given a record deal to. They've brought in other players as well that we was like, well, that's a good move. This is a good move. You get Fernando Mendoza in, you've got Clint Kubiak. This is going to be good for the Raiders. This is going to work out. They then do something like this, which is a very, I think, poor organization look, really, to be honest with you, where they sort of went, no, they're to blame. And Baltimore were a little bit like, we're not really to blame. Like, it's just, we just don't think we really wanted to. It's not them, it's us. It's the special, like, I don't know, Adam, like, it was very much who we're going to, who we're going to blame it on. And then what happens is within 24 hours, really, 13 hours actually of the trade falling through, they then sign ex-Cincinnati Bengal Trey Hendrickson, edge rusher, to a 4-year, $112 million deal. And then come out and go, oh, but what we really want to do in the ideal world was trade for Maxx and have Trey. That was the plan all along. Are you buying any of this, quite frankly, in my view, bullshit?
No, not really. Look, I think, personally, I think what's happened is you've got a bit of buyer's remorse here. And I think that they've gone out and they've spent the money on him and the draft pick capital on him. And the in reality, they're just, I don't quite know what happened. The Raiders doctors seem to suggest that he was, like you said, fine and it was in good time to come back and he was going to be all right. And then the Ravens doctors obviously felt that it was a different story. But you sort of think, well, we all knew that he had surgery. Like it was pretty common knowledge that he'd gone out, he'd had the surgery done, that he missed the last 2 games of the season in order to do this. And that it kind of just felt a little bit like, well, you knew all this. So you knew that when your doctors got to him, they were not going to find a healthy knee because it just wasn't going to be. So that's a bit weird. Then you've got the whole thing where I remember me and Andrew were recording a draft show, and before we started doing it, we were talking about it, and I was just sort of like saying, you look at the timeline, it's strange how it worked. Cincinnati would never, ever, if they had kept Hendrickson, say like they franchise tagged him again, there was no way that they would ever have traded him to the Ravens. So that was never, ever going to be on the cards. He was never going to be a Ravens player unless he became a free agent. So you sort of look at it and it gets a little bit, you can't quite exactly work out what happened first, or I haven't been able to see what happened first.
Well, there has been some more news come out since all this drama, hasn't there, with the to and fro from the 2 clubs, that the Ravens were in conversation with Trey Hendrickson at point of combine. So like before they traded for Maxx Crosby, they had conversations with Trey Hendrickson's team, and the census was that Trey Hendrickson was wanting like over 120 million, 40 million a year, in which I think Ravens were like, that's too much. So they did have the conversation with him and they went, oh, that's too much. Maybe we go for Crosby. And then obviously Trey Hendrickson, with his age and having an injury as well, didn't find a market for what he was asking for, and then became a hell of a lot cheaper because no one wanted him at that price. And that's when the Ravens then went back in on him for that. And in terms of the medical stuff, I have heard from Ian Rappaport that it's not possible to fail a medical. There's no such thing as failing a medical in terms of the NFL. Apparently, they can say that there's something in the future that might hinder them. We want to back out, but you can't fail it. There's no physical like test you do, and you go, oh no, you didn't, you failed. And apparently, a point of shaking hands and saying, yep, let's do that deal, the Raiders must hand over all the medical reports as well, all the scans, all the x-rays, all of that. So at point of saying, yes, let's do the deal, they handed everything over they had. So I think that's where Raiders are going, we gave them all of the information when we said, let's do a deal. So there is a bit more information come out from this that points to the Ravens being full to blame here, and the Raiders actually not withholding any information, or if you like, selling them something that wasn't there.
And of course they got completely hoodwinked as well, really, because I know no one's signed on the dotted line just yet, but they did go out and spend money they didn't have without that Crosby move. And yes, they can restructure it, but they were offloading Crosby's 30+ million salary, bringing in these players, having a massive refresh. Again, all three of us said quite positive moves, quite a lot what they did, gave it maybe a little bit money to some players, and we would have said maybe bring that down a little, but they got completely hoodwinked. And then Crosby, after all this, puts out a social media post basically going, I'm back, I'm with the Raiders. I mean, I there's only two possibilities of this, and one of them is he gets traded eventually, and that could be during season. I really think that could be during season. I mean, there could be that could happen. What I would like to happen, and the Cinderella story in me and the sport story in me, is Crosby goes back, takes a big deal, but like a friendly-ish deal, and they go on to make the playoffs this year, and he goes on a rampage. And I know maybe not breaking the sack record. No, I won't say that, but maybe being top 3, top 2 sacks for the year. They get to play. I'm not saying they get to Super Bowl. I'm not going to say get an AFC Championship. They just make a playoffs, scrape in the playoffs. Maybe some may say, and he just really gives it a bit of a stick the middle finger up to like you broke the promise, not these guys. And actually, these guys fulfilled what they probably said in behind closed doors to me, that, okay, if we're not got the direction we're going in, Max, or, when the time comes and you need to leave or you want to leave to go on to potentially push for a Super Bowl, we'll let you do that. Thank you. And the response of the Raider Nation and the team moving on with him, and the response from Crosby was so mature on all fronts. So that's what I think it makes the Ravens look even worse here, is actually an organization that's notoriously been pretty bad and not ran that well was exceptional throughout this whole process.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it does feel like that, doesn't it? It feels very much that it's one side, and that they're the Ravens are the ones that have kind of come out of this looking worse than what the Raiders have, and it's a very strange one. And obviously, like you say, it kind of throws a lot of things up in the air, but certainly for the Raiders, because I think the plan obviously was to have the picks. But I mean, they can still operate with Crosby there. They've got the cap space in order to do it, so that's not a problem. But yeah, I mean, I think unfortunately the idea of them being a playoff team, even with him, I think it's pushing it a bit because of the division that they're in. That's the problem, and so it's just going to be tough.
I know I'm in fairy tale with that.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've seen Myles Garrett have sensational seasons, and Brown's not qualified for the playoffs. So if he's up to that level, then he's might miss a bit. But I think that's kind of what you're saying, aren't you?
Yeah. Do you think he stays though, Andrew?
I think they, like I said, that they can operate in a state. I don't think he really, his message that he put out when he left. He loves that organization, so I think he'd be happy to stay. So I think if the option is we haven't found the right trade partner because the deal's dropped loads now because of this whole always failed the medical, then they keep him. I'm sure he'll be happy to stay and happy, like you say, to prove a point. So I think Adam's right. He may get traded. Did Adam say this? May get traded during the season. I think that could be a possibility. Fred. Yeah, I think that could be
I think that might be more a possibility. I think there might be a team that it's a little bit like I'm not going to. It's not comparable in terms of the player, but when like Washington went on a run and they traded for Marshall Lattimore, like that sort of thing. Like there might be a team that goes on a little bit of a run and goes, we could have a real good shot here, and they go a little bit all in on this season. I don't know who that would be. I couldn't give you a team that might look like, but
no, but you could argue, say, like the Patriots in the year we've just had. if a team does something like that, it would make sense to go for it with someone like Crosby and bring him in.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you look at the season just gone, I mean, you could argue Seattle, but then Seattle's defense was so good they probably don't need him. But yeah, probably New England, Chicago could have been one that could have gone all in, I suppose.
There's every year there's going to be teams, isn't there? It always happens. So
yeah, like I said, I don't think I could like confidently go right. This team's going to have a push next year. Could be an hour and ever snot. I mean, there could be an. It would be mental, and I don't know how they'd do it. But it would be sensible if someone like the Bills were like running away with it, not running away with it, but were like in that top 3 bracket in the AFC again, and we're like, this is like the now or never. We got DJ Moore in, offense is running wild, defense still needs a little bit more. You know what I mean? Is that silly? Is that ridiculous?
No, I think any team, like I say, I think any team that's in a position that feels like they've got a chance and they're in contention, he becomes an obvious candidate to try and get hold of. And I think the good thing is I think you'll get him at a price, even if he's fully fit. I think you'll get him at a price that's less than the 2 firsts that he was going to go to Baltimore now. Because you can just come out and go, oh well, he's getting older. So I think that will happen. So yeah, there's like I say, every year there's teams that are sort of like around that point, just before the trade deadline. They feel like they've had a good start to the season. They can kick on. A team like the Colts did with Sauce Gardner. There's loads of that. There's always teams that do it, and someone will jump at the chance to take him on.
I would dip my toe into gets traded at the draft if the class was better. I just don't think anyone's gonna. I don't know. If you go on, do you want to go up? Do the Raiders want to go up and get?
It's good. There's decent edge rushers in the draft, though, isn't there? So
I'm more saying like the Raiders. Yes, the Raiders got the 14 pick and they'd been very happy with that with the movement. But at this point, if it was draft night, you're going up. Like you're going up to get someone, aren't you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Do you not think that what would make more sense is to do it in season to then get picks in 2027 for a draft draft that is much better?
Yeah. And that'd be that for the Raiders. I feel like next year, either way, with
that'd be great for the Raiders.
The Raiders are hoping to maybe double their win tally, 6 wins, 7 wins. We're competitive in games, we look good, and they'll go, that's a tick, we're really good. We're not trying to get to the playoffs in 2026. 2027 maybe. So I think that's probably when it'd be better for them to have the picks in 27, 28 if possible than it would be for 26, because they're not trying to win in 2026.
Well, in a weird kind of way, it's not necessarily the worst thing to happen for the Raiders. When you actually look at it, I just don't think they'll quite get that amount back for him from now, but actually it might sort of push the picks across in a slightly different way and a bit further back. And the Broncos, the Chargers, then they're not going to be bad overnight. They're going to be good teams in these next, and the Chiefs as well. So it's not necessarily the worst thing in the world for them.
I mean, it's not under this Raiders iteration, but the Raiders did once have 3 first-round picks, and they only took 1 stud, and the other 2 were bust with a capital B. Could name me the 3 players that they took?
Arnett,
Cleveland Ferrell.
Cleveland Ferrell was one of them. I don't think Arnett was one of them.
Henry Ruggs.
I think it was the
was it Leatherhead, the offensive lineman?
Oh, Alex Leatherwood. Yes, Leatherwood. It was. I thought it was Jonathan Abrams.
I think it was Arnett and someone else.
The one.
What year was it?
Gosh, Adam, you should know.
Really? Have you got the names?
I know who it was. I know who.
Oh right, I won't bother looking.
I know for certain Ferrell was one of them. I think the third one was Jonathan Abrams. I don't know why. but I know the third one is a stud.
Well, we may as well just check it out now then.
He's a stud. He was a stud for the Raiders, and he's been a stud for the Green Bay Packers. And you're going to go...
Oh, Jacobs. Jacobs went that year, didn't he?
Josh Jacobs, yeah. Josh Jacobs was the third one, I'm sure.
Have we got the list?
I'm looking now.
Well, Josh Jacobs was definitely the one that was really good. Clelin Ferrell was the one they took with the 4th pick, I think.
What year was it?
Even at the time, that was a surprise. I remember that being a surprise at the time. Because people were like, oh, they've taken that.
Right. 2019. Clelin Ferrell, Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Abraham.
Jonathan Abraham, the safety. Like, yes! I knew it. And what were the picks? 4,
24,
no.
And 27.
I would have said 27. I knew it was in the 20 somewhere, one of them, Jonathan Abrams.
Henry Ruggs and Damon Arnett were 2020.
Okay.
And Alex Leatherwood was 2021. So they over them 3 years, they really did well, didn't they?
Jeez Christ.
2022, no first round pick.
1 out of 10 players. That is their hit rate. That is God. Fernando Mendoza is going to be so trash, isn't he? He is not going to be good.
It's not the same people in the building.
No, I know. It's a different iteration of Raiders, obviously. Right, to our next segment for this show. And we've had a lot of free agents go. There is still plenty more out there. I admit the list I've got of guys that are still out there is on the old sphere, I would say. But there is still plenty of guys out there.
They're old or a certain position, I've found.
I've got a mix, but mine are all old.
Yeah.
So
what's a certain position?
I think there's a lot of offensive linemen still out there at decent ages, and people are waiting on the draft before they bring in. There is some big names on the O-line still left there.
There's some very big names.
I actually did a bit of Googling and got like what was the NFL's top 50. And I've got the remaining free agents from that top 50 that are still not signed anywhere. So I'll just read them. There's not many. There's only 8, I think. It's Juwan Jennings, Taylor Decker, Stephon Diggs, Joey Bosa, Joel Bitonio, Aaron Rodgers, Deebo Samuel, Kirk Cousins, and Bobby Wagner. They're the ones who I've got left here. Hopefully you two have got some ones that you think are better than that, or we can just talk about them ones if you like. I don't mind. It's more than fine.
Well, I wanted obviously the big name that's still there that is a big topic. I thought you were going to say Tyreek Hill. A lot of people saying he's washed and there's no juice in the tank, and that's coming from GMs of other organizations. I don't know who. It was just a post saying around the NFL, GMs are saying there's no juice in the tank and they don't want to take him on. Obviously, he's a big guy, big name that people thought was going to go in that first wave.
Well, when you've got that, so let's maybe stick on that topic for the matters, like a bit of a microcosm, I suppose. You've got Juwan Jennings, Stephon Diggs, Deebo Samuel, and Tyreek Hill still out there. 4 at one point. Juwan Jennings has come on in later bloom, I suppose, but 3 of them at one point, top wide receivers in this league. I mean, all on the wrong side age-wise. I don't hate Deebo Samuel somewhere. I actually think he's still got... I know the problem with all of these is injuries. Stephon Diggs was pretty all right last year for injuries, but Juwan Jennings and Deebo especially, injuries, and then Tyreek Hill missing the season last season. The problem is I think a lot of these free agents in this cosm have had a lot of injury history now and are a bit older, but out of them guys, them wide receivers there, where could you see some of them, them going, or some teams that may go in from? The Patriots are a team still that might like the idea of taking an older wide receiver. I know they got rid of Diggs, but
I mean, the Patriots are an obvious one who need a wide receiver. I know they brought Dobbs in, but I still think they need a wide receiver there who's got. So I'm surprised that they're saying that Hill's washed, sort of thing. I feel like
if his big thing,
the problem is that I think it's more the money. I wouldn't want to be paying that money for him, but like the idea that he's washed, I think is a bit unfair. I mean, the Saints the Saints are a team that you feel like need to go for wide receiver. The thing is, I mean, we recorded the wide receiver draft show just last week, and when you look at some of the guys, it feels like there's no like real top Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase type player. But there is quite a few there that are kind of solid. You feel like in a year or two could become solid wide receiver 2s on a lot of teams. And there's a couple that could be a wide receiver 1 as well. But it kind of feels like there isn't a massive amount there. I mean, which it surprises me that some of these names are still around. I feel like someone would have taken a shot on Tyreek, you know, and Stephon Diggs and...
I think you would take more of a shot on Juwan Jennings, surely, over.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
over them two at this point. I would say.
I think he's a good shout. He's younger than what they are as well. I mean, Christian Kirk is another one who's a free agent. I'm surprised someone's not taking a shot on him. I just
sorry to just interrupt you with Tyreek. I mean, his last 1,000-yard season was 2023. Got 13 touchdowns, 1,799 yards that year. I think that being leading the NFL as well.
Yeah,
2024 he gets 959, and then last year only plays 4 games.
So I'm looking on Sport Track, and they have his, previous annual value around 30 million a year, and I think that's where the problem is, because you're not getting that, are you? You're not getting the play from someone who's
years old. What are you paying him? 10 to 12 million?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where the problem maybe comes in, where it's with him. I think Diggs is the same. It's a similar sort of thing where it's
they're in the 30s.
Yeah, they're in the 30s. They come with a bit of baggage. There's always a bit of trouble there.
Yeah,
and they're asking for a lot of money. So I think that's how come that they haven't been taken. But at the same time, when you actually look at what's coming through in the draft, it does kind of feel like these guys are going to end up getting probably like 1-year deals somewhere, maybe just after the draft.
Yeah, they might want to see what they can get in the draft.
Yeah,
they can get
see what's around.
There, it's going to be cheaper, and then go for one of these guys. Do you think there's any possibility that the 49ers rewrite their wrongs and bring back Deebo Samuel? They let him go and signed Brandon Ayuk instead, didn't they? So do you think they might bring back Deebo Samuel? I think they could. They know what they can get.
I've got down here Denver. Just because I think that Sean Payton, in his style of offense, would like someone like Deebo. I know they've got like quite a litany of wide receiver, but I suppose they've got Troy. Troy Franklin is sort of like a Deebo thing, isn't he, in a way? Like, could be. I don't know. Maybe just... I mean, Baltimore's a good shot. Baltimore loves taking an older wide receiver. Like, they've done it the last 3 years, that they've just signed a random wide receiver who used to be great, and they've just barely used him and just sort of used him sporadically, because obviously they're not a throwing team, they're more of a run heavy team. So I wouldn't be out the question for me that Diggs or Deebo goes there. I think for Hill, where would I like Hill? What makes sense for him? What makes sense for his size, his speed, and a veteran presence in the wide receiver room, who it also has not got the greatest reputation of a person. So, he's going to go to a coach for is a bit of a... I mean, it just screams, it's the Chiefs, isn't it? Actually, when we think about it, it is. But it is
they
the
don't
Chiefs,
need him,
isn't it?
But
Reed can just have him on cheap, knows what he gets, looks after him. He's comfortable. He ain't going to play up. Knows the team, knows the organization, knows Pat. It would make sense, wouldn't it?
The Commanders?
I don't know. I think the Commanders...
I feel like, do they have that deep threat there?
Scary Terry.
Yeah, no, I get that, but I mean, like the speed. Mind you, if he's washed, then he ain't gonna have the speed, isn't he?
Yeah, does he have the speed anymore? Does he have that track speed anymore?
Well, that's what that was saying. He hasn't got the juice anymore, and that's his game, isn't it? Because of his height. So I don't know.
But I feel like there are quite a few teams who could do with a wide. I think the Commanders, I think the Saints, the Patriots, the Jets. They just got Garrett Wilson and not a lot else.
I just don't think any of them want to go there. But then if it's a 1-year deal for 20 mil.
But this is what I mean. And also, I can't remember what I was watching something, and I will kind of come on to it in a different segment we're doing later. But it kind of feels like there are certain teams that they're picking players for now rather than necessarily for the organization later on. And it's almost like because they're basically trying to save their skins now, the coaching staff. And so you sort of think to yourself, well, them teams are still, that you could just pick someone like Hill up, or you could pick someone like Diggs up because of that reason, in the hope that it's not my money, 20 million, let's hope it works out kind of attitude. And, there's a lot of teams when you look at it. I mean, the top 23 teams in cap space have all got over 20 million. So, they could all go out and do it if they really wanted to do it. So there's a lot of places he could go.
What about the quarterbacks who are left out there? Because we've just seen Kyler Murray be signed by the Minnesota Vikings, and now they're in a quarterback battle, which is just ridiculous.
Surely they're going to play Kyler. That's a bit of a no-brainer.
I just don't see it working. But Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins being the top guys out there. Is Aaron going to come back to Steelers? Is he going to retire? I feel like we're in the twilight zone and Groundhog Day, and we've lived this conversation.
Yes, Bill Murray is going to turn up. Yeah. He's going back to Pittsburgh. He's going to be with Mike McCarthy, and I am going to spend the season laughing my head off. It's going to be great.
What about Kirk's market, Andrew? He's going to be a backup.
Yeah, but he's going to be expensive again now, isn't he?
Is he not still on the vet minimum because of the?
Is he going to be vet minimum as well?
I think so. Yeah.
I don't know. I thought Vikings was where he was going to go if he was gone from the Falcons. I don't see who the Jets will obviously need someone, won't they, to back up. But
we talking about they got Brady Cook. Leave him alone.
Yeah, I don't feel like there's many. I feel like most of the teams that were desperate have kind of put a solution in already, haven't they?
Double check.
Steelers.
Well, you're saying Rodgers is coming back?
No, both. Genius idea.
I actually, you're going to laugh at this now, but I just want to double check it so I don't look like a complete fool. 1 second.
42-year-old starter, 37-year-old backup. Come on, Fred. You know you want it.
I'm going to sound like a little bit because I know exactly what you're both going to say straight away to this. Green Bay could be an option. It could be though.
We're getting Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, there are lots of rumors.
Yeah. But I don't know. You've got. I mean, I know you got Desmond Ridder.
We do need a backup, but we won't.
We won't. Just steady it for 2 weeks. Jordan Love comes back. It's fine.
Yeah, but Anthony Richardson will be fine for 2 weeks.
Will he?
Yeah, because everyone was saying that Malik Willis wasn't going to be fine for 2 weeks, and then he was. They get him in there. They actually have someone who can coach him. Happy days.
If a lot of people are saying that they think the Raiders should take Cousins to help Mendoza.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean
they're both like similar style of people. You feel like that sort of don't swear, have your vitamins, go to church sort of thing.
There's a few of them though, isn't there? I mean, you could argue someone like Flacco would be good for that.
Equally, yeah.
Yeah. He could be a mentor. He could definitely go somewhere and be the mentor. What about, is this a stupid idea as well? Who's backing up him?
Who's?
They've just signed someone though. So
hang on, Daniel Jones isn't going to be ready for the start of the year, is he?
I mean, it would be a very Colts move.
Yeah.
That's not that stupid though, really. I was going to say with like a weird thing of like
who
maybe
thinks that Daniel Jones is going to work when he comes back as well? I mean, you've got to
the
have a
Indianapolis
backup plan.
Colts think that he will.
I can't believe he's got paid what he's getting paid. It's ridiculous.
Who's backing up? Oh no!
Hang on, what was the crazy idea that they've just signed someone?
I was going to say Dallas, but they've just signed Sam Howell, and they've got Joe Milton. I love Joe Milton, but I love Sam Howell. But yeah, that wouldn't make sense overly, would it? Trubisky's just gone back to the Bills. I mean, Jacksonville wouldn't be stupid in a way, but the problem is Trevor Lawrence is sort of developed now, I suppose. I mean, Denver with Bo wouldn't be that stupid either.
Who's backing up at the Commanders?
Because
Jaden Daniels is very injury prone.
I think,
and we said last year, what's the backup plan? Because
they did sign someone the other day. It's Marcus Mariota. That's
they got Mariota.
They re-signed him. Yeah.
Okay.
They re-signed him. So yeah, I don't know. Is there anyone else that you guys can pick off the top of your head?
Well, you're looking at injury prone players.
No, yeah, well, players. Yeah, I was moving off of Kirk, to be honest with you. He's got more airtime than I was imagining that he was going to get.
Well, he's one of the big names at the top.
He's one of the big names, yeah.
Who have we got? Players that are.
I mean, Joey.
There are some big names out there. I mean, Joey Bosa is still out there. Hassan Reddick.
Again, I just think anyone who's over
veteran
the
edge, though, isn't it?
Anyone who's 30, they're going to wait till the draft and see what they can get in there, really, aren't they?
What about Mekhi Becton?
Yeah. Well, again, the O-line guys.
26.
What you're going to get in the draft. Because there's loads of really talented O-line guys still on there.
It would be fun considering their injury problems last year if they got in Joey, San Francisco. Pairing up with his brother. I mean, they were injured. I know they got that guy they drafted, but he got injured and didn't play the whole last season. But the amount of injuries they get every year, you got to think he's going to take the field at some point, wouldn't you? I mean, he'd probably play instead of his brother because his brother will be injured again.
David Njoku.
David Njoku's a great pickup for somebody. I don't know who, but that's a really good pickup for somebody. Who needs a tight end now? That could be an interesting one. Let's sort of keep on the free agency thing a little bit, though. So I've got a list in front of me of pretty much every single big name free agency signing by every single team. I've picked out a couple that I like. I've picked out one that I really don't like. We've weirdly sort of talked about it, but I can sure pick another one that I don't like. But Andrew, I'll start with you. What's a free agent signing that you think's pretty good and that you've been like, wow, that was like a real needle mover for them. Very happy for them.
I feel like we've gone over quite a lot of the ones we liked last week. So I went for one that's happened recently. And when you really look into it, I've kind of gone my own team here. And I wanted to talk about the Darnell Mooney move because I feel like we've let
just when we thought he was going to talk about the Calvin Austin move, Adam,
I thought he was going to say someone else then.
We've let Wan'Dale Robinson go. He's now going to be getting paid £78 million at the Titans, and we brought in a guy that plays exactly the same position. I think it's an upgrade. You know, he was good for the Bears. He was good for the first year of the Falcons. It was only last year he struggled a little bit. I think he's had some really good years. I think he's very underrated, and he's only going to cost us £10 million. So instead of bringing back a guy that was going to cost us maybe £78 million, with that money, we've managed to bring in Mooney, Isaiah Likely, and if you like, Calvin Austin as well. We brought in some weapons, and I think that's really, really sensible moves. And I think Mooney's flown under the radar as a really underrated player that I think can slot in and be a fantastic number two to Neighbours.
That's exactly what I was just going to add on until you just said it then. Is I think being number 2 to Neighbours, this works. It does really work, and you're right. I think he's had a fairly decent career wherever he's been, and he's played at chaos most of the time. You know, a Falcons team that's really struggled, a Bears team that really struggled at the time. I think I like it. I think it's a good move for him. Even when we signed it, he signed for them. I put it in the chat and we were chatting about it. And even then, I don't remember, even if I sort of jumped into the chat at that point, I think I just put it out there and you guys were chatting about it. But I was very like, this is a good deal. I like this for you. I think you're building, you got something building in New York. It's good to have an experienced hand. Good to have someone next to Neighbours. Hopefully Neighbours stays fit for the whole season. And you can really utilize his skill set. Adam, you got any ones that you really liked?
Yeah, so there was a couple that I think were decent ones. I liked Tyler Biadasz, who has gone to the Chargers, I believe, from the Commanders. 3-year, 30 million. I thought just to have a centre at 10 million, I thought that was a really good price point. So I like that. Like Jalen Phillips, I know it's very expensive, but I actually think it's probably worth it. I think he's a really good edge rusher, and the Panthers, I think, were ranked 32nd or 31st for edge play. It was pretty dire last year, so that was really important. However, the one that I really liked, and I thought he was going to nick it from me because it is for his team as well, the Jermaine Illuminor deal.
The re-signing.
I think it's ridiculous that they have managed to get him back for 3 years on 13 million a year, when the vast majority of top O-line guys, you're looking at about 20 now. So
the rumor was, I spoke to you about this, and the rumor was that if he hit the free agency market with another team, he'd probably go and be the highest paid right tackle in the NFL, and we've managed to bring him back. I think that shows testament to who the coaching staff are, because he basically, I think at the end of the season, said, "Come and get me. I'm one of the top 5 guys at this position," and he's managed to come back on a good deal as well. So I think
really good, really surprised. Don't know what you did in order to persuade him, but
we've also managed to persuade a guy to come back on a 0 money guaranteed contract. We've managed to get Evan Neal back, and he's on 0 guaranteed, or his whole contract is incentivized. That something is going on there where people want to stay and play for this organization now, and I think that shows. Although he hasn't lived up to his first round.
I don't get why he's so hyped about that, because he has been woeful the whole time.
There's no reason why he can't develop. He's still very, very young. And I just think that getting someone under 0 guaranteed.
It's no brainer.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
I'm actually, you know what? Like, fine. Like, this is fine. Isaiah Likely, like, I like that one as well. Like, we're all going Giants. That's what I mean. Yeah. That's why I said fine, because I was like, you know what, we're just going to say all the Giant signings. I like the Tremaine Edmonds signing. I like the Isaiah Likely. So I like most of the moves that you have done this offseason. I know you take the mick out of me. I think Calvin Austin will do some stuff for you. Like, I think he will. I think he will be utilized in the right way there, and that's fine. Like, it's. Harbaugh has experience with quite small, nippy wide receivers. He knows how to use them. Like, he knows how to use them in that offense. One I really liked, and I'm going to be a bit of a homer on this one. I think the Rico Dowdle one's one that people aren't really talking about. I think he was sublime for the Carolina Panthers in the back tail end of last year, and has just sort of got onto the Steelers on I think a 2-year deal. I think that's really good. We're a team that needs a running back, and we are very, very much committed to Warren, but we need someone to play with Warren.
I think there's a possibility that Rico Dowdle could take over from.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I think we look as in we're committed to Warren, as in we want him to stay around. But
do you not think they play differently though?
Yeah, but you'll lean on one to be your main guy, won't
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah,
but I mean,
which I think will be Dowdle, but that's what I'm saying is like with Warren now having a number 2, i.e., maybe someone to play over him and him being that what he was meant to be, which is that speedster sort of running back. It almost takes a spot off him a little bit, and I think the spotlight was on him so heavily last season, and he had zero support behind him. Well, other than Gainwell, and they're so similar, both of them players. But now he's got sort of that thunder and lightning thing with Rico Dowdle, and it might be. I think it'll be really prosperous. I actually really, really like that. And I know it's like an obvious one. It's a bit of an old one at this point. The Chiefs getting Kenneth Walker is just a joke. Like, it's such a good signing from them. It's the one thing we've said they've needed for a bit. It's so obvious. They need a running game to, when Mahomes comes back, to sort of take that pressure off of Mahomes on occasion, because sometimes it's just Mahomes and that's it, really. And he needs to have that. He needs to have that post to lean on. I think he needs that.
Also, if you want another one, the mighty Roy Lopez has gone back to Arizona to play defensive line at only $5 million a season for 2 years. What more could you want? Bargain.
What's one you hate, Adam?
One I hate. Let me find him.
Or a whole bunch you hate, maybe. One
that I don't understand, and this is kind of what I was saying a little bit earlier when I was talking about the fact of teams that I feel like are throwing money away just purely to try and buy a win, and it's probably not going to work. The Demario Davis signing to the Jets, I don't like that signing at all. He's 37 now. It's a 2-year deal for $22 million. It feels like a lot of money for a 37-year-old guy who's going to be nearly 40 by the end of that deal. Don't really feel like... I felt like he was all right for the Saints, but I don't really feel like the Saints defense was that great. And it just sort of screams of the Jets hierarchy just desperately trying to stay in a job. So, yeah, I wasn't keen on that one at all. I think the Alec Pierce one is high. For what he is.
It's heavy.
Yeah. Price. I mean, I've got no problem with him as a player. I think what he does is great, but he's never going to be that. He's never going to have 80 receptions in a season or 100 receptions. He's going to be the big bomb over the top a lot of the time.
Yeah,
$114 million's a lot.
He only sees like 15% of the target share, doesn't he? So in order for him to be a wide receiver 1, which they're paying him at, can you see him jump into 20 to 25% of the target share in that team? No. I think it's mental. I think Josh Downs is a better wide receiver, and I would not have paid that for Alec Pierce, who's only going to catch. He's essentially the new version of MVS, isn't he?
Well, I mean, that's a bit harsh. There is no other player that you can compare MVS to. I mean, he was just by himself. I mean, just not necessarily talent-wise, but my God, there's no comparison to that man for anyone.
But he caught 2 catches every single game that were.
But he did it so well. You can't compare. Wan'Dale Robinson, another one, very high for what he was. I feel the price is high. And then the only other one I would say, Oway, who's come from the Chargers, the edge rusher. I thought he was really good for the Chargers at the back end of the season, but there's not a lot of work there when you actually look at his whole career. To pay $96 million, and I think it was something crazy. Was it 66 or 68 million guaranteed for this guy who was originally at Baltimore, wasn't great.
He only recorded one season with over 10 sacks.
Yeah, he's now at the Commanders. Yeah, he had a really good sort of final 6-8 games for the Chargers. And I must admit, because I remember looking at him going, he looks really good now at the back end of the season. But yeah, so quite a lot of them, my complaint with them is just how much has been spent on them. But yeah, there's some guys where it feels like teams have gone. See, the Commanders are another one. It feels a little bit like if it doesn't work this season, is Dan Campbell going to be out? You know, and almost like they're spending big money on players that just aren't necessarily worth it.
Also bought in Chiga Conqueror and Leo Chanel as well.
Brilliant signing, Leo Chanel. What more could you want?
Anyone that you're not a fan of, Andrew?
Yeah, this is quite controversial because Adam brought him up as a guy that he thought was a great free agent signing, and I really don't like the Jalen Phillips signing. I think to give that guy the amount of money that he's having, he's very, very injury prone and has never had over 10 sacks in a season, has he? I think that's a lot of money to spend on a guy that I don't think's actually lived up to the hype yet of, when we talk about that draft, Greg Russo went after him. And I just think you could have got a better, more consistent player for a lot cheaper. And I think that's a lot of money to spend on a guy that, as I said, is injury prone and hasn't had the sacks. You're saying this about Owe as well. Surely Jalen Phillips is the same comments for you, no?
I feel like Phillips did more at Miami. I think he was just more involved than what Owe was at Baltimore. That's not necessarily saying sacks. I'm just saying just general play. I think like pressures and stuff like that. He just generally got more involved in the team than what Owe has done did at the Ravens. But I will concede that they both of them feel very similar in respect of they've it wasn't amazing at their first team. They've both gone to the second team and had a really sort of short span of time where they've done well. And then they've sort of somehow managed to get massive deals from it. So, yeah, I think money-wise, I can understand where you're coming from. I don't know. I feel like Phillips he's got something about him though. There's just the idea of being able to go to the Eagles and be the top edge rusher there and just I know what you meant.
Fit two seasons, hasn't he? Of like the 4 or 5 seasons.
For the whole season?
Yeah, he's missed. He's injured.
That's like most players, isn't it?
No, not really.
Everyone gets injured now.
No, well, what we said, if we had a quick look at it, let's find this. So he only played 8 games in 2023, 4 games 2024. So he only came into the league in 2021.
He's only had one full season. That was in 2025, and that was for 2 teams. In fact, what? That's not right. It says 2 teams. That's not surely not correct.
He played for the Dolphins and the
Eagles. Of course. Yeah, it was it. Yeah.
He traded middle of the year, so I think he played all the games for the Dolphins and all the games for the Eagles last year, which is what he's got the contract because we still only had 5 sacks across that year. So again, a guy he's never had over 10 sacks. Which, if you're going to pay that amount of money, I want a guy that's getting over 10 sacks a season regularly, consistently. And is not as injury prone. So,
do you not feel that a lot of these teams just have to spend it though?
Yeah, this is sort of leads on to my one because I think I've not got necessarily a singular player, but I have a problem with Tennessee, Carolina, and Washington really about the money and who they've spent it on. That's more my problem. And then on the flip side of it, I think they've sort of really put themselves out there when they are nowhere near a team ready to sort of make a push. And then on the flip side, you look at Denver and LA, the Chargers, who have really not done much. I'm like, lads, like you're in your moment. You need to go and get someone big, like make that splash for someone big. You're in your little bubble at the minute of potentially reaching a Super Bowl, going back to a Super Bowl, etc. I just look at their signings for LA and for Denver, and I'm like, you need to aim for the stars more. And then I look at these teams that have sort of aimed for the stars a little bit with their signings, and I'm like, man, you've spent too much money on that guy. I think that's too much money on that guy. I don't really get why. Why is Wan'Dale Robinson the marquee signing for Tennessee? Like, that just doesn't really do much for me, It just doesn't. Am I being unfair on the Chargers and the
no.
Broncos there?
Regarding the Broncos and the Chargers, I think sometimes if you're one of these teams that's going out and spending a lot of money, there's a reason, and it's normally because you've been pretty poor. So I think both of these teams looked decent, didn't they? They did well. The Chargers, obviously, the big concern was the O-line. And I do think Biadish, who's come from the Commanders, I think he'll be a decent centre for them and he'll do well. So they have sort of invested in that. But yeah, I get your point where it does kind of feel like you need to go out and really, really kick on. And you've got, especially the Chargers, because the Broncos, I don't think the Broncos have got a lot of money, have they? I think the Broncos are a bit... Where are they? They've got 22 million, so they're not too bad.
I just think when you're the Chargers or Denver,
Chargers have got 61 million cap space at the moment.
Say again.
Chargers have got 61 million cap space.
I just think, when you look at Chargers, you get Keaton Mitchell, Denzel Perryman, who's played for you before, Trey Lance back, which obviously a backup, Dalvin Tomlinson, decent player, Khalil Mack, who you re-sign, and Tyler Biadasz, yes, that's a good signing, but maybe rather than bring Khalil Mack back, maybe put your hat in the ring for someone like Jalen Phillips. All right, okay, you may not be able to afford him, but put your hat in the ring for someone who's a bit bigger. I don't know. It's the same with Denver. Who've Denver brought in? They brought in trying to find them. Singleton played for them before. Dobbins is a re-signing. Troutman. Go and get someone. Go. Go and get Leo Chanel if you need a linebacker instead of Julian Strand, or Alex Singleton. Rather than Troutman, go and get Dallas Goedert. Go and get someone like that for a year or 2 years and just push you over the line a little bit. I don't know. I maybe I'm being unfair, and obviously the intertwinings of a franchise escape me. I'm not involved in any of that, but I just don't know. I think you can just push yourself out there a little bit more sometimes.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think they can. It's just, I think sometimes certain organisations, they just don't want to do it. They believe in draft and develop, don't they? It's a very Green Bay Packers way of doing it. So maybe that's what you're dealing with.
Well, Andrew, Adam, thank you very much for joining me this evening. And thank you if you have been watching us on YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe. And if you are listening to us, make sure you also like and subscribe there as well. Make sure you follow all of our social media content and also some of the shows that we have got coming from Andrew and Adam close up to the draft. It is definitely draft season now. As I said earlier, tiredness is hitting me like a ton of bricks. I can barely get my words out now. I feel like I'm stumbling all over them. But Andrew and Adam have some fantastic draft content coming out to you. There's already some out there already, so make sure you check it out as we build up towards the draft that will be happening in the end of April. Thank you again for listening or for watching this show. We'll see you all again very soon.